Good morning. Good morning. Please take a seat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful. My name is Rich Beery. I am the CEO of Robin Hood. Welcome to the 33rd Annual Robin Hood Heroes Breakfast. So before I start, I have to go off script for a minute. Robin Hood is amazing for many reasons, one of which is our amazing board of directors. Some of the most incredible leaders in business and government you'd ever want to meet in the world. And one of those board members was just appointed Chancellor of the State University of New York system. He is a dear friend, an incredible leader who has been fighting for children his entire life. I had to give a shout out to Dr. John King. Love you, John. Now, I was trained as a civil rights lawyer. And when I think of my heroes, my mind often goes to the American Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, to revere names like the late John Lewis and Ella Baker and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. These are the names of legends who were at the forefront of the struggle for racial justice in the 50s and 60s. Now, those names are worthy of every honor. But it would be a mistake to focus solely on those famous names. Because at every march, at every freedom ride, at every lunch counter, there were dozens of people, or hundreds of people, or thousands of people whose names are not in the history books. But these people put their jobs and their lives and their families on the line. We would not remember the Martin Luther Kings of the world without the sacrifice and leadership of the many unknown heroes who stood at their side. Yeah, support for that. Now, I think about that when I think about the fight against poverty in New York City. Because at Robin Hood, we know there are heroes among us. Everyday New Yorkers who, given access to opportunity, can accomplish anything. Everyday New Yorkers who rarely make the news, who probably won't wind up in any history book, but who make this wonderful city that we love possible. Now, it has been obviously a difficult couple of years for all of us. And that's definitely true for the families we serve. Right now, 1.4 million New Yorkers, 1.4 million of our neighbors are living in poverty. And if you're Black or Latino or Asian, that's more than twice as likely to be true. And beyond those officially living in poverty, millions more are just a missed paycheck or a unplanned medical bill or some other unknown crisis away from being in the exact same boat. Unaffordable housing, inaccessible health care, inadequate education have all conspired for generations to keep too many New Yorkers down. Make no mistake, the pandemic did not create any of those challenges, but it certainly made them worse. Nonetheless, I am bullish on New York City. We remain the greatest engine of opportunity in the world. And with all of our talent, our creativity, our ability to take a punch and keep on coming, I know that New York City will continue to be the place that people around the world come to. Because despite all of our real problems, the real problems we have, we know that more than anywhere else in the world, New York City can be the place where you end up in life is not dictated by where you begin your life. I am so proud to be part of an organization that is dedicated to that beautiful vision. We have 34 years of poverty-fighting expertise under our belt. At Robin Hood, we have a simple approach. We study the evidence, we make smart bets, and we focus relentlessly on results. Last year, we invested $171 million in 425 of the most effective poverty-fighting organizations in each of the 5 boroughs of New York City. Just to give you an example of where some of that money went. In a city with just 1 child care slot for every 5 infants, We invested $23 million to make childcare more accessible last year. And we recently launched an initiative with the City of New York to invest another $100 million in building the world's greatest childcare system here in New York. During the pandemic, I can applaud for that. I don't get a lot of applause in life, so I don't step on applause lines. I'm gonna let it ride. During the pandemic, we helped more than 15,000 households avoid eviction and maintain secure housing. And Robinhood remains the largest private provider of emergency food in New York City. And I can tell you that none of this would be possible without your support, the support of the people in this room. Now, I started by saying that heroes are not only the ones we celebrate publicly, but those who are working behind the scenes to be there for their family and their friends and their neighbors. And that's certainly the case for our first honoree, Future Now. You're gonna love Future Now. Founded in 1998, Future Now provides free GED classes and vocational training, along with counseling, college prep, and career development at Bronx Community College. By the way, if you never visited the Bronx Community College campus, it is one of the gems of the city. I encourage you to go visit. Their students come from nearly 100 countries. Many are parents, and nearly half have been involved in some way with the criminal legal system. In a world where young people are often forced to navigate life and school on their own, Future Now goes above and beyond to provide personalized support for its students. They hire staff who know firsthand the struggle that their students are going through. They customize course preparation and class selection to meet the competing demands of work and school and family. And it works. As you might imagine, enrollment and persistence rates across the City of New York system hit record lows during the pandemic. But Future Now just keeps hitting it out of the park. 80% of students receive their diploma. 70% transition into college. 65% receive their associate's degree in 2.5 years. That is more than double the rate at Bronx Community College as a whole, 65%. And that associate's degree matters. When you have that associate's degree, that is worth $17,000 in annual earnings for each graduate. So when asked how they achieve these extraordinary results, founding director Elizabeth Pam said, "It's love. That's how we deal with the bureaucracy. That's how we keep going." Since 2007, Robinhood has invested more than $6 million in Future Now. Here to share more about their powerful work is Jose Lopez.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Robinhood. I'm not a college guy. That's what I said to Elizabeth Payams, director and founder of Future Now, after I passed my GED. And that's where the conversation probably would have ended if Future Now wasn't Future Now and Robinhood wasn't Robinhood. I had 2 daughters to take care of. Nobody I knew went to college. My high school transcript was horrible at the time. I had nothing to support what I was actually worth. Most of the people I had grown up with in the Bronx were either in jail or dead. I just needed somebody to tell me I can do it. And that's exactly what Future Now did. I started at the program in 2014. In 2015, they hired me to tutor and mentor. All my students were getting their GEDs. If somebody wanted to drop out, I say, no, bring them to me first. Put them in my class, and I hadn't lost one yet. Thank you. Not only did I go on to graduate from Lehman College, I'm currently the college enrollment manager for the Future Now program. It was Robinhood who paid my salary as a tutor. It was Robinhood who funded the peer mentoring program. And you guessed it, it was Robinhood who helped us create the college transfer team at Future Now. So for us, for me, Robin Hood isn't a small thing. It's a big thing. It's a huge thing. Without you, we just be another GED program. Instead, we are a mini college within Bronx Community College. We do admissions, financial aid, registration, and advising. We stay with our students for 2 years. We have a staff social worker and provide paid internships for the students. Why? Because no matter how good your GED program is, if you put kids in college and just say, good luck, you have nobody left. I'll never understand why the city of New York gives Metro cards to students at the DOE, but then it ends in college. At Future Now, we hand those out to students who live far away from campus so they don't have to walk to school. Some don't want to go to class because they have to wear the same clothes every day, and we take care of that too. Some come for the food we provide while we do the counseling, and that's usually how we hook them in. We don't hold kids back to boost our success rate or program enrollment. When they feel they're ready, we test them. If they fail, we tutor them until they are ready to test again. We are the #1 site in New York City in terms of our graduation rate. 15,000 GEDs earned in the Bronx so far. Thank you. During the pandemic, things got rough. We had a lot of students whose parents died of COVID. They took on multiple jobs to provide for their families. Others didn't have the technology at home to transition to remote learning. The way financial aid works now, if you stop attending, the colleges hold you liable. We had a lot of students with nearly enough credits to graduate who couldn't re-enroll because they had balances ranging from $1,000 to $2,700. And it was Robin Hood who helped 41 students pay off their balances so they could come back and graduate. I wish you could have heard what we'd heard when we made those phone calls. Some of them screamed, some of them cried with tears of joy. You can even hear the parents in the background screaming. We were able to influence them and inspire and allow them to now become a different individual and graduate with their college degree. All with just one phone call, but most importantly, all because of you. That's what you're doing with your investment in Future Now. You are removing the barriers. You are allowing our students to aspire to greatness. You are telling them they can participate in this economy and in this society. When Zouberou Sayibou came to Future Now in 2020, he sailed through the math portion of all the exams, but he failed the writing multiple times. It wasn't so much his writing, it was the way he wrote. He had been educated in a French school system in Togo, and his script wasn't easy to read. With the GED, if they can't read it, you can't pass it. They automatically fail you. But like I tell my students, in order to be great, you have to fail sometimes. Thomas Edison didn't make 10,000 mistakes on his way to inventing the light bulb. He took 10,000 steps. I kept asking Zuby to write his essay portion again and again and again. In the meantime, I made him my math tutoring assistant. His English was good enough, but still he was holding back. He hated me for this at the time, but I took him into one of my classrooms and left him there alone to teach. He became one of the best math tutors Future Now has ever had. Students never missed his sessions. Future Now didn't make Zuby a genius. We just gave him an opportunity. By the time he was born in Togo, West Africa, the youngest of 5 children, his father was already driving a taxi here in New York, working to make the dream of higher education a reality for his sons. One by one, his older brothers came to the US. Back home, despite completing just 3 grades in elementary school, Zuby's mother helped him learn to write and taught him basic math. Starting when he was just 12 years old, he spent all his free time and pocket money improving his computer skills at cyber cafes and troubleshooting tech issues for members of his community. He studied anatomy and chemistry online and ordered advanced math books to teach himself the concepts. When his visa came through in the middle of senior year in high school, He dropped out to come to the US. It was finally his turn. I couldn't be more proud to welcome him here today.
Thank you so much, Jose. Wow. Thank you. When I arrived in New York, I wanted to get my GED on my own, like my brothers did. But they told me they had heard about a program at Bronx Community College, close to where we live. I saw a campus security guard, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a GED program." He sent me to the 5th floor. That was a little bit of luck, but there is more than one GED program at BCC, but there is only one Future Now. When I took the entrance exam, I did well on the math, but I couldn't pass the writing. Jose became my mentor. Thank you, Jose. He sat me down and let me know it's okay to fail. Everyone at Future Now gave me room to grow. I was already working 2 retail jobs when Future Now asked me to start tutoring other students in math. But it is a Togolese value to help others, so I was very happy to do it. In 4 months' time, I had my GED. I was on staff, and I was asking a lot of questions. How should I pick a major? What do I need to be successful at Bronx Community College? What mistake have other students made? What do I need to transfer to a university? How do I get financial aid? Future Now helped me navigate them all. Before my first course at BCC, I had a scholarship lined up for every semester. I was like, oh, no, that was too early. I got to class early. I sat in the front row. I reached out to transfer students across CUNY who got into Yale, Harvard, and Brown, and I followed their moves. I took honor courses in math and computer science, and enrolled in free statistical computational classes through Coursera and NYU. I joined clubs and student government organizations, and I did research on campus. I applied to 9 colleges, and I got into 6 when I was about to. Got into Tufts University. Case Western Reserve University, University of Rochester, and University of Michigan. But when Pomona accepted me, I was going crazy. It's a very small school that only takes 12 transfer students. All the work I'd been putting in felt worth it. Then, on a Friday, May 7th, 2021, I had to log into my, I usually don't take breaks during the day. I usually don't take naps. But that day, I had to take naps because I don't know what happened to me. I was so tired. So I took a nap. That was actually the day of the Stanford decision for transfer student. So I woke up like 2 hours later, and I saw an email, and then I went to check my portal. And I logged into the portal, and I saw confettis. And I was like, no, it must be a dream. So I went back to the restroom to wash my face, to take a good look at it. And I look at it, I saw confettis again. And they didn't even make a mistake, like my name was right. So I was like, okay, how much does this cost? And then I look at the financial aid. It was a full ride scholarship. I was, I was like, no, 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 this is not possible. It's just like someone out of nowhere, someone just basically tells you like you're among the best students in the world, and we're gonna give you a full ride to attend Stanford. I was going crazy. Trust me. Every day, I ask myself the same question. How did I drop out of high school, get my GED, and end up at Stanford? The answer is Future Now. Without them, I will be fighting for everything on my own. I will have gotten my GED, I will have worked hard, but Future Now showed me how the system works. They made sure I didn't get lost, that I didn't waste time, that I had a community. I started classes at Stanford last year, and my first quarter was really tough. Sleepless night, being far from home. You can count the number of students at Stanford with a GED on your fingers. You could put us in a very small room, and there will still be a lot of space. Yeah. I was feeling powerless, like I should be perfect. But when I remembered that I failed the entrance exam for the GED program, I remembered it took me 2 tries to pass the GED. I remember that Future Now did not judge me for it. They told me to keep going. I realized I don't need to be scared to be failed. It's just part of the story. Now I'm owning my place. This journey has made me remember where I'm from. I called my dad, who is back in Togo now. I told him for the first time in my life, I know what it feels like to be academically challenged. That was Stanford. He's not as familiar with Stanford as he is with Harvard, but I assured him it's pretty good. My mother was my first math teacher. We still compete in mental math till this day, and sometimes she wins. I don't know how she does that. In Togo, there is an urgent need for low-cost diagnostic tools. I believe artificial intelligence may help solve this problem. I believe I may be able to help solve this problem. It's why I'm majoring in computer science at Stanford University. Whether I go on to get my PhD, become a doctor, or work in tech after I graduate in 2024, I will use my education to improve lives here and back in Togo. When I used to talk about my goals, so many people told me to lower my expectation. It's so common for a low-income student, immigrant, and people of color to hear that. But there's no way to see someone's potential right away without knowing their background. Future Now invests the time to extract that potential, not just for me, for every other student. That's the difference. If we want the world to change, these are the students we must mentor and empower. I am honored and grateful to be one of them. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Rule. I am so honored to be here with all of you, and I'm here mostly for one reason, because I love New York City. And if you love New York, you cannot help but appreciate and be in awe of the work of the Robin Hood Foundation. Robin Hood's sole mission is to help every single New Yorker thrive. And what a mission that is. Because when you think about what makes New York amazing, it is not our weather, it is not our traffic, it is not our access to space or affordable housing. It's the people. It is the heart and soul of this city. New York is the most philanthropic city in the world because of people in this room. Unlike other major cities throughout history, as people grew wealthier, they moved out of those cities. They developed suburbs. Not New Yorkers. We stayed on this island. We invested and we reinvested. We live on this island together, all New Yorkers. We embody the principle to love thy neighbor. We have no choice. You can smell what your neighbor is cooking. You know when they're arguing. And not just the people who live in your building, it's to love people who live in all of New York City. You don't have to live south of 14th Street to go to a cool restaurant. You don't have to work in a midtown skyscraper to have a good job. And you should not have to live south of 96th Street to have access to good health care or a good education. And thanks to the mission of Robin Hood and the community partner we're about to feature, they're doing work every day to change that. Over the last few years, I've gotten to work with this community partner, Harlem Dream and Robin Hood, on a project I'm very passionate about. Beyond loving thy neighbor, this idea that if you have privilege, you don't have to give your seat up. What you have is the opportunity to build a bigger table. So how do we do that? There's a lot of simple ideas, but they're not that easy to execute. Just a few weeks ago, I had the chance to work with Robin Hood and Harlem Dream on a Halloween party, an old school street party. Halloween, one of the best nights of the year in New York. Not everybody gets to celebrate it. Maybe it's just the kids in your building. Maybe it's just the people in your neighborhood. But for that one day, we shut down a New York City block, and thanks to John Sykes and the power of iHeart, we get to throw an old school block party, dance party, street party for 500 families from Harlem Dream and families from the Upper East Side to just throw down Sesame Street style. And it's amazing. And only organizations like Robin Hood and Harlem Dream could execute a simple idea, but that's not that easy to execute. Harlem Dream was founded in 1991, literally two dirt piles on the worst block in East Harlem, transformed into two baseball diamonds. Those baseball diamonds grew and grew. It became a true community operation, an after-school program, a summer program. We'd bring the kids in with baseball, that was the hook, and then came the academic support. But academic support in the summer and after school, it's not enough. Those students, just like our kids, deserve so much more. They deserve holistic support. Fast forward, Harlem Dream, now a full charter school network in the South Bronx and Harlem, serving 2,000 kids from pre-K to middle school to high school, supporting them through college and their careers. Harlem Dream alumni known as legends. And we've got the report card to prove it. 97% high school graduation rate, 99% college conversion rate. That's Harlem Dream. And Robin Hood has been involved since the beginning. In 1994, it was just a $5,000 grant for the Grand Slam program. That $5,000 grant, fast forward, has become a $9.5 million investment on Robin Hood's part for the Harlem Dream program. Rich Berlin, who started as a volunteer coach for Harlem Dream, he's now co-CEO of Harlem Dream and a Harlem Dream dad, has a really great quote about philanthropy. He says, we talk a lot in the world of giving. A lot of donors consider themselves innovators, risk takers. He said it's not the case. Most donors are wait-and-see funders, but not Robin Hood. Robin Hood is the exception to the rule, putting their money where their mouth is. And I'd just like to say, as appreciative as I am of Robin Hood's extraordinary funding, extraordinary fundraising capabilities, Paul, John, our board, everyone in this room, amazing. What really makes Robin Hood magical is not just the money, which is the gasoline that fuels the Robin Hood rocket, but it's the Robin Hood team. It's our founding CEO, David Saltzman, It's our former CEO, Governor-elect of Maryland, Wes Moore. It's our current CEO, Rich Bury, and the Robin Hood team, day in and day out doing the work. But what I'm the proudest to talk about is the next move for Harlem Dream. Because 1 month from now, the School of the Future is opening in the South Bronx. A 200,000 square foot facility, a former abandoned ice house that is about to open its doors to 1,300 students from pre-K to high school, with a playground in the sky, with a rooftop gymnasium, with a technology lab, a STEM quad, a Harry Potter-style library. Because every kid in America deserves that level of education, and Harlem Dream is the model. Right now, we have all sorts of people today in leadership positions, in business and government, who are making lots of not great decisions. So we are making the decision to bet on the future. And the future are the kids, the teenagers, the legends of Harlem Dream. I have the honor of introducing you to one of those legends, a Harlem Dream alumni, a legend, Jasmine Mille.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Robin Hood, for having me here today. East Harlem is my heart. My grandma's house on 115th and Madison, the flagpole in the Taft Projects, and the dugouts in Jefferson Park. I remember feeling this way from a very young age. Mental illness, addiction, and domestic violence consumed my household, creating constant chaos. Right before I started kindergarten, my mom unexpectedly took me and my sister to Oregon. When we returned to New York City 8 months later, we went into the shelter system. We were homeless. Every day, we had to go to a different shelter, sometimes in Queens, sometimes in Brooklyn. Every morning was a different commute to my school in Harlem. I was always late, always coming in the middle of class. I was only 6 years old, but I still remember thinking, when am I going to feel at home? By the 3rd grade, I told my mom that I wanted to stay with my grandmother, where things were a little calmer. I started walking to school, getting there early. I realized that the longer I stayed at school, the more control I had in this little bubble I created. Education was my only constant. It's where I found peace and safety. One way to be at school longer was to do sports. I hung out with the boys a lot. I started playing baseball, wasn't afraid to get dirty, run those bases, play the field, but I liked to hit, and I could hit. I knew a lot of kids who played ball in this place called Harlem RBI. Today, you know it as Dream. But for the longest time, I thought it was just for boys. Finally, when I got to my sophomore year of high school, a friend told me to come with him, and the coaches said I could try out. Like I said, I could hit. Once I was in, I realized there was a catch. If you wanted to play, you had to go to program. Games in the summer, academics in the winter, practice all year round. I still remember my first game on the Field of Dreams. That grass was so crisp and the baselines were so bright. Very different than Jefferson Park. Our uniforms made us feel like pros. On the backs, they had the name of our sponsors, companies who partnered with Dream to support us. And one of them, KPMG, gave me my first internship. That is where I fell in love with forensic accounting. It combined two of my favorite things, math class and watching Law & Order with my grandmother. By my junior year, it was all about college. We talked college at practice, college at games. Dream even took us to our first college visit all the way in Atlanta. Of course, it was great seeing the Braves play, but the best part was getting my first real look at a college campus. I love seeing so many different young people, walking around those dorms, being in the library. It felt like a movie, but it was real. Back at home, Dream paid for me to take my SATs and even convinced me to apply to some schools that are of financial reach for my family. I ended up getting into SUNY Plattsburgh, but I ended up not being able to afford it. There was no way I could go. Dream brought my mom in and sat us down. They laid out what grants we qualified for and how financial aid worked. They explained, this can happen, and this will happen. That summer, Dream hosted a summer bridge program to help us with the culture shock of being on campus. They even introduced me to my roommate, another Dream participant, Jaya, who remains my best friend to this day. After my freshman year, however, my family's financial situation changed. My mom had gotten married, given up her rent-stabilized apartment to move in with her husband, and then separated, all in the time that I was away. Reality set in again, and I couldn't afford to go back to school. I called my counselor at Dream to explain. They immediately got me an interview with the foundation in their network for a $2,000 scholarship. It wasn't going to cover everything, but maybe I could get through another semester. I interviewed with a woman named Stacy Winter. I was so nervous I kind of blacked out, but I must have said something good. Stacy followed up that same day to say, we're not going to give you $2,000, we're going to give you $10,000. And then the support just kept coming. They not only paid for my tuition, but everything, books, food, and trips home for the rest of my time in college. Later on, at Dream's Alumni Career Fair, I met Tanya Shebley, a managing director from PwC. I handed her a business card. Dream made those for us as well. And Tanya invited me to an internship. Both Tanya and Stacy became my professional and personal mentors, guiding me through every step of my journey. They're even here today, and I'm so grateful for their continuous support. Thank you. I interned at PwC for the next 2 summers. I overloaded my credits every semester to be eligible for a starting position at the firm. And when I graduated in 2019, PwC gave me a full-time offer in their digital assurance and transparency practice. Last year, there was an opening on the talent team. I became a campus recruiter with a focus on HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions. In January, I'll be starting on the business side, conducting interviews and hiring. I want to make sure that every candidate has support at every step of the process, that everyone has a seat at the table. When I really think about it, that's what Dream did for me. I was that kid always walking around with a smile on my face. If something was wrong, you never know it. But Dream knew me, on and off the field. They cared about all layers of me. They were my family. Now, I have my own apartment, my own car, and amazing friends I met in college. I'm able to travel the world, and I have a career that I love, and I get to pay it forward. This organization showed me that my biggest, wildest dreams are possible. Today, thousands of Dream Charter School students, even younger than I was, have that consistency, that sense of home for the rest of their lives. And let me tell you something, that changes everything. I want to thank Rich Berlin and Eve Colavito and the entire Dream team for helping me turn those dreams into my reality. You've always made me feel seen. You've always made me feel safe at home. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning. My name is John King, and I'm excited to be here with all of you today. I grew up in Brooklyn, the proud son of two career New York City public school educators. They inspired me, but I lost both of my parents as a kid. My mom passed away when I was 8, and my dad when I was 12. It was an amazing community of New York City public school teachers who saved my life. They made school the one place in my life when I could be a kid, when I wasn't able to be a kid at home. They gave me educational experiences that were rich and engaging and a sense of hope about the future. It's because of them that I went on to become the first African American and Puerto Rican to serve as New York State Education Commissioner. It's because of them that I had the opportunity and the honor, thank you. It's because of those amazing teachers that I had the honor to serve as United States Secretary of Education for President Obama. And it's because of those educators that I, as Rich mentioned, was named on Monday the next Chancellor of the State University of New York. None of that would have been possible if a group of committed people hadn't come together to ensure that I had the opportunity to succeed. I believe in Robin Hood because I believe that all of our communities and our country are stronger when we ensure that all of our young people can reach their full potential. It's very clear that our third and final honoree this morning shares that belief. Avenues for Justice was one of the very first programs in New York City to help prosecutors and judges understand that services, not cells, are what our young people deserve. In 1974, Robert Siegel, an NYU student, and Andrew Glover, an NYPD officer, started providing meal tickets and organizing basketball games for court-involved youth on the Lower East Side. They began advocating across the legal system for alternatives to incarceration. With the help of Angel Rodriguez, their first hire, who grew up in the neighborhood and remains their executive director to this day, Avenues for Justice purchased an abandoned building overrun with drug use on Avenue B and turned it into a safe space for young people to rebuild their lives. Robin Hood matched their vision with visionary resources, providing nearly $8 million in funding and management assistance over the past 30 years, ranging from impact evaluation and capital investments to programmatic support. The return on that investment is nothing short of extraordinary. In 2021, it cost the New York City Department of Corrections $500,000 to incarcerate just one person for a year. At Avenues for Justice, it costs less than $6,000 to provide supportive services for one young person for that same amount of time. And while 75% of parolees commit a new crime within 3 years of release, only 6% of AFJ participants recidivate within 3 years of enrolling in their program. The stigmatization that comes with a criminal record can lead to a lifetime of diminished earning potential, as much as $500,000 in lost wages, and a much greater likelihood of ending up in poverty. In a nation that imprisons over 250,000 teens each year, that loss is staggering. And it's not just a loss that you can measure in money. It's a loss of opportunity. It's a loss of potential futures. It's the loss of shared prosperity, and it diminishes us all. But every day, Avenues for Justice provides second chances to thousands of New York City's young people. By doing so, it offers them the opportunity to embrace their true potential. All New Yorkers, indeed, all Americans, are better off thanks to their work. Please join me in welcoming Elsie Flores, court advocate from Avenues for Justice, to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, Robin Hood, for having me here today. I get up every day and look forward to working with kids. Not my clients, my kids. Kids who are just like me, who needed a second chance. I'm homegrown on the Lower East Side. My mother moved us there from Puerto Rico when I was just 6 months. She struggled with mental health issues, turned to drugs. To release the pain, she worked the streets. I hit the streets at the age of 11, started selling drugs when I was 13. I sold everything I could get my hands on, dropped out of school in the mix. My schedule was smoke weed, sell drugs, go shopping. Guess what was the fun part? I was young. I thought, can nobody touch me? Like a lot of our kids these days. But when I was 16, reality hit. I started getting arrested back to back to back. Grand larcenies, observation sales, direct sales. I was facing 1 to 3 for each arrest, up to 9 years. At the time, it was legal to charge young adults as adults, young people as adults, excuse me. Then I also found out I was pregnant. I was facing prison time pregnant, the scariest time of my life. That's when Angel from Youth for Justice intervened. He said if I did their program for a year, I would earn youthful offender and 5 years probation. To be honest, I wasn't too fond of men at the time. I didn't trust them. But when Angel, my probation officer, John, tried to help me, my first thought was, embrace it, Elsie. Angel, my court advocate, Nelson, who are both here today, showed me support from that day on. They had me call every night for curfew. When I got home, they came to all my court dates, and they got me back in school. They never gave up on me. I got a job, my first job, working at McDonald's. Let me tell you, I used to make $1,500 a day selling drugs. My first paycheck for McDonald's was $124.68. That was literally like a pair of sneakers for me at that time. I looked at the check, but fear came upon me. I had a baby on the way. But then I realized I didn't have to watch my back anymore. The money was legit. Cops wasn't looking for me. When it came time to give birth, I was still living in a studio apartment with my mother. We had nothing, literally nothing. I was afraid if anyone finds out, ACS would take my baby. But when I came home from the hospital, Youth for Justice had a crib, balloons, stroller, and 3 bags of secondhand clothing. I was so grateful for. How can you forget the first day you bring your baby home? But even with those things, I didn't know how to be a mother. I was 16 years old. Our kids don't ask to be here. I needed to keep my baby safe. From that point on, it was game on for me. I got my high school diploma, I got my associates. I started working the cash register at Dwayne Reed. They noticed I was good with customers and made me a pharmacist technician. I kept moving up, but the strength you need from one life to another is mentally exhausting. I couldn't be around my mother no more. We needed our own space. I moved to the shelter system with my 6-year-old for 8 months. I never stopped applying for apartments. I ended up finding a place right up the street from my homegrown area. I was 27 years old when I first slept in my own bed and had my own room. After 10 years in the medical field, I took an internship with AFJ. 4 months in, I knew this is what I wanted to do with my life. In 2020, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice at John Jay. Today, I'm a court advocate for 50 kids, the ages from 13 to 24, that were just like me. Kids who are motherless, fatherless, and have a financial burden. Kids who've been abused. Kids who find security with gangs, stability with the street gang money they make on the streets. They gotta learn that's not the crowd for them. Sexual abuse, they gotta learn it's not their fault. Youth for Justice, as Biggie would say, we're all going from negative to positive. That's my mission. The system expects a 16-year-old to figure out a 30-page application for food stamps. They expect a kid to be home before curfew when being out in the streets is safer. At AFJ, we consider all angles. We look at the whole family. That's what makes us special. Trying to get a kid off of marijuana when mom is smoking blunts in the living room is hard. Trying to help a mom get clean is hard. But if we want, we will help her. Some people, the people I ran with back in the days, are still in the corner to this day. They can't even read. I've been called the traitor. I've been called the snitch. But it's been 25 years since I've been at the game, and 12 years since I started working with Avenues for Justice. Today, I could call the Chinese restaurant or a deli and tell them one of my kids is hungry, put it on my tab. That's a blessing. When I look back on my childhood, I was angry, I was a bully. I did a lot of things I wasn't proud of. But the work I do now, this is who I'm supposed to be. I love when I get the call saying, I got my diploma, I passed my exam, I got a job. I'm following my dream, Ms. Flores. Today, AFJ is operating in all 5 boroughs. I hope maybe someday I could run this place or a place like it. Right now, I'm looking into getting my master's in social work at NYU. I can't afford it, but I'm going to keep working on that dream. My firstborn is 23, living on his own. My youngest is 8. He's legally blind, deaf, and has mobility issues. It's not easy, but we do our best. That's what I expect from myself, and that's what my kids deserve. If it wasn't for Avenues for Justice, I know I wouldn't be standing here with you today. I would have been another statistic, another inmate. Instead, I'm a proud mother of 2 beautiful children who know they are loved. The kids on my caseload, they know they are loved too. I'm on their side, and by being here today, you're on their side too. To my team, who's been there for me since day one, and my present team, I just want to say, if I didn't say it enough, thank you so much. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm John Griffin, Board Chair of Robin Hood. I want to thank Jose, Zouberou, Jasmine, and Elsie for being here with us this morning. It is a profound gift we receive each year at this breakfast. The opportunity to listen and learn from some of these heroes. It requires a great deal of courage to come in front of all of us and to share these very personal stories in front of a breakfast of strangers. But beyond these challenges, what lies at the center of each of these stories is agency. It is a powerful combination of courage and agency that makes New York what it is and that makes Robin Hood what it is. I've been reminded of this many times recently in the loss of my mentor, Julian Robertson, this summer, who, like a lot of people in this room, was much more interested in being remembered about how he gave away his money rather than how he made it. He had an insatiable appetite from learning from other people, not books, and he absolutely would have loved learning with all of us this morning. And I've also been reminded of this every day for the past 3 years, serving as board chair during the pandemic and working in partnership with Rich Bury and the team to invest in leaders and organizations who fall in love with the challenge more so than the solution. but it's because when given time and support, they will iterate their way into powerful solutions and be able to execute against them. An after-school baseball program that transforms itself to nurture children to and through college, a GED support that then becomes a full ride to Stanford, and alternatives to incarceration that we just heard so powerfully, that create multi-generational pathways out of poverty, secure housing, emergency food. If you really boil it down, Robin Hood invests in agency and courage, because when you respectfully, effectively engage the entire community, when you take the time to listen and learn from people, they become your co-designers. These are the solutions that truly change lives. I want to thank you all for being here with this inspiring morning. Please consider Robin Hood in your season of giving, and I'm wishing everyone a happy, happy holiday season. Thank you all.